Hello, friends. Welcome into NFL Daily. I am your host, Tom Downey, and on today's show, we are taking a look at the latest around Jamal Adams. The trade rumors are back, and we'll take a look at some top destinations for him. Now, before we get into that, here's the latest on Adams. Adam Schefter reports that Adams is not going to show up to the Jets' virtual off-season program set to begin later this month. That is voluntary, but part of the reason why, and this is not good for the Jets, is that Adams is unhappy with where things sit right now in the contract talks, namely that the Jets haven't expressed official interest yet in actually extending their star safety, one of the best young players, in fact, one of the best players at his position. This is not the first time, by the way, that there have been trade rumors around Jamal Adams. Those happened back at the NFL trade deadline. So before we dive into some fits and more on Adams himself, will the Jets trade Jamal Adams? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Very simple question. I think we'll see quite a few votes in the comment section. Now, if the Jets were to actually move on from Adams, that would be significant. And there would be a very high asking price for Adams because he's awesome. He's one of the best young players in the NFL, regardless of position. Adams, heck, wasn't just the best Jets player last year. As a safety, he was frankly their best pass rusher. He got home at a very high rate. Now, he's not a true single high free safety, but he does damage around the box. He's a playmaker, and he impacts the play at a very high rate relative to other safeties in the NFL. There's a reason why he was a top 10 pick and why he's been a Pro Bowler in the NFL. So predict for me, you can still say Jets, by the way, but what team will Adams play for in 2020? We're going to go through the top 5 trade destinations, but I will make this the pinned comment of this video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll down and cast your votes right there. On to number 5, the Philadelphia Eagles, historically a very active and aggressive team when it comes to trying to upgrade their roster. Now, even after trading for Darius Slay, they still have money available because the Eagles know how to make that work because the salary cap is very malleable. But they are a little bit lighter on draft picks as a result. Now, they kind of re-signed Jalen Mills to play this safety corner hybrid role, although I don't think they'd mind getting Jamal Adams, plugging him in day one at strong safety, and then moving Mills over to the cornerback spot, letting him compete with Avonte Maddox, Douglas, and Jones for that number 2 corner role across from Darius Slay. But the Eagles are kind of in a unique spot. They do have to worry about the cap a little bit more of a long-term perspective when, Adams is going to get his massive extension. Year 1 at about $7 million, not an issue for Adams and the Eagles. But the asking price could very well be. The Jets are not going to give away Adams for nothing. Now, they could make this all go by just paying Adams like they should, but the reports coming out of the NFL around the NFL trade deadline way back when was that the Jets were looking for a first and then some. 2 second-round picks was probably the minimum asking price at that time. Of course, no one came close to offering that or matching that deal, so the price for Adams remains high. With that in mind, I want you guys to put your Jamal Adams trade ideas in the comment section. I want to see a bunch of ones, and get creative if you want. You can do players involved here. I think the Jets would prefer picks, but who knows? It's the NFL. Crazy stuff happens. So don't forget to put the team, by the way, but let me know what you think Jamal Adams and what the trade ideas you have are in the comments section. We got 4 more teams, but I did want to make some honorable mentions here. I love the idea of pairing Malik Hooker and Adams together for the Colts. They could afford it, but no first-round pick. Makes it a little bit tricky. I don't see the Jets trading Jamal Adams to the Dolphins, but you got to mention them with all of their draft capital. The Bears have no first-round pick, and they're tight on money, so I'll cross them off despite a need at safety. The Raiders signed Jeff Heath and Demarius Randall. Had that not happened, maybe they would have made our list. And Adams, by the way, did grow up a Giants fan, but I have a very tough time seeing the Jets, barring a ridiculously absurd off-the-charts offer from the Giants, being willing to trade their best player to one of their rivals in the Giants. Number 4, a potential sleeper here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, they got the cap space to make it work, and what do we know about the Bucs for certain? Well, they are very clearly all in on winning right now because they went out and they signed Tom Brady. That window is very limited at the moment. So for the Buccaneers, they're going to have to find help. They have got to get secondary help. That's not a great grouping there. Justin Evans was banged up a lot this past year, barely really played. Jordan Whitehead, Mike Edwards, it's kind of iffy. So the Jets, or the Bucs, by the way, do have a connection with Jamal Adams, namely former Jets head coach Todd Bowles is the current Bucs defensive coordinator. Maybe a little reunion there. The money, by the way, I do want to make note of that. The Bucs can make it work. But Adams is going to be expensive, and that's why there's a little bit of hesitancy around the NFL. Not only would you be giving up a premium pick for Jamal Adams, you would also be making him the highest paid safety in the NFL, probably around $15 million once you factor in the rising salary cap. Now, I think Adams is worth that, but that draft capital and that salary cap and then the money involved does kind of help limit the potential landing spots for Adams. But I think the Bucs are a good sleeper there at number 4. We, of course, mentioned the Eagles. And if you're an Eagles fan watching, Rick, you're an NFL fan in general, because I'm sure why else would you be watching? The NFL draft hats are out. Head over to chatsports.com/NFL draft hat. They're actually good this year after being kind of rough in recent years. They went back to a more simple style. They've got fitted. They've got the snapbacks and the adjustable. All types of variations are there at chatsports.com/NFL draft hat. And don't worry, I'll make your life easier. I'll put that in the comments and the description of this video. Number 3, the Cleveland Browns, who actually, as weird as this might sound, have the most cap space right now in the NFL. Now, this time last year, they entered the offseason, or the season with Morgan Burnett back there at safety. They were in pretty good shape with Demarius Randall, too. They're both gone. The overhaul has begun. Carl Joseph can play a little bit of both. I think he's better at strong safety, but if you were to trade for Adams, you'd kick Joseph over to the free safety spot, which he did play some for the Raiders. And Andrew Zendejo's a better number 2 anyway, if we're being honest. So the Browns, who are in and trying to win with Baker Mayfield on his rookie contract, they could get aggressive. One potential issue for Cleveland: offensive line is a significant need. Tough to see a scenario in which they don't give up their first-round pick to get Jamal Adams. They might want to spend that on offensive linemen instead. But purely from a money perspective, from the ability to add another star player, Delpit's easy. Adams is easy. $40 million for the Browns. The Lions, they don't make much sense. You've mentioned the Eagles and the Colts. The Redskins, pretty light on draft capital too. So money is a factor here. But for a player like Jamal Adams, most NFL teams would be able to make that work. Now, if Adams gets dealt, it might end up being on a draft night trade, depending on maybe a team misses out on a guy they want in the middle part of round 1, and they get aggressive and go out and try and get Jamal Adams, and probably on day 1 as well. Chat Sports will be live for the entirety of the NFL draft. Every pick will break down every player who is selected, all live on YouTube. So if you have not already, hit that big red button and join us on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hours of coverage nonstop on the 2020 NFL Draft. Number 2 on my list, the Baltimore Ravens. And remember, folks, they had interest in trying to add Jamal Adams at the NFL trade deadline last year. They were one of 2 known teams that tried to make a deal for the superstar safety. If the Ravens were to get Jamal Adams, this would be I think by far, the best secondary in the NFL. Tavon Young's got some injury issues, but he's a good nickel when healthy. And even if he's not, you've got Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, and Jimmy Smith, and Earl Thomas. Now you slap Jamal Adams into that back end? Oh my goodness, that is incredible. And the Ravens are clearly showing interest with some of their moves in free agency. They are attempting to win right now with Lamar Jackson playing great and on a cheap rookie contract. This is what smart teams do. So the Ravens might not be the most obvious fit, but I think they'd be a very strong contender. At number 1, of course, it is the Dallas Cowboys, because they're the team most linked to Jamal Adams. It's a constant topic around the NFL. And the Cowboys, they have the money kind of saved along to the side. They can make it work if they want to go out and get Jamal Adams. And this is also important to note. Jamal Adams is from Dallas. He has said before he would love to come play in Dallas. Playing for his hometown would be special for him. The Cowboys have long needed safety help, and that corner help is not great either. Now, it would take more than number 17 overall. You'd have to figure out what you do with Xavier Woods / HaHa Clinton Dix, but that's kind of a lesser issue for Dallas because you just got, I think, would instantly become the best player on your defense, maybe even by a significant margin. Remember, Adams is going to be expensive. That is important to remember. You're not going to get a player of his caliber on the cheap. So here's a trade proposal that I put through for the Cowboys. That does, by the way, of course, work in the NFL trade machine. A first-round pick go to the Jets. That's number 17 overall. A 2021 second-round pick. And the Cowboys throw in Xavier Woods because, quite frankly, they don't really need him if they're going to bring in Jamal Adams and they signed HaHa Clinton Dix. Who says no to this trade? Type J for the Jets, C for the Cowboys. This is more than what the Cowboys offered at the NFL trade deadline last year, and it's also less than what the Jets are reportedly asking for. So I tried to find the nice middle ground on that front because Adams is expensive. But if the Jets are having issues extending him, which I still don't understand what the organization would be doing there, I think the Cowboys would emerge as a very possible contender. So to recap then, my top 5 Jamal Adams trade destinations: the Eagles, the Bucs, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Cowboys. If you think I left out a team, let me know what you think in the comments.